Hey guys, what's going on? Justin Carpenter here. Um, been spending my Sunday working. Been tuning on a couple vehicles. I've had one in particular today that has given me a little more trouble than most. I've got a customer that's brought me a handful of things over the years. This particular truck's got a LS1 in it out of a GTO. It's got a Brian Tooley Stage 3 LS1 cam, so pretty healthy cam, nothing crazy radical, but definitely not mild. It's got the stock truck intake. It's got the stock drive-by-wire throttle body on it. Nothing too crazy out of the ordinary. It is an automatic. It's got a 3000 stall speed converter in it. It's giving me a little bit of issues with idle. So today I wanted to go over what I did and the issues I was having and how I resolved those. Alright, so normally when I get a modded truck like this, got a decent sized cam, that type of stuff, I can go through, I can make a bunch of initial base changes. Normally it's good enough to get in the truck, go drive around, it's not dying on me. It runs well enough that I can get good data on it and start working on the VE, the mass airflow, things of that nature. So I made all my initial base changes. Like I said, this actually does have an LS1 in it. It's not a 5.3. Made all the normal necessary changes for that. But my initial guesses, kind of my initial go at what I thought this truck would want, they weren't correct. I figured this truck would probably want to idle somewhere low teens. Idle airflow, I figured it would want 4 or 5 grams per second of startup airflow. It started up, it would idle, but I'd look over in the scanner and I noticed that my short-term idle trims were just climbing, and that the desired idle airflow was up in the 20s. So I'm like, yeah, something doesn't seem quite right here. I'd give it a little rev, it'd kind of fall on its face, you know, it wasn't doing what I wanted it to. So went out, drove it, and the VE was just way out in left field. So went through, corrected some of that, did a couple other drives, and then, you know, the idle and the startup got better. I did end up adding some more air to it. I'm like, my short-term idle trims are +6, +7, so let's give it 3 or 4. And as I do that and make VE changes, I was just constantly chasing my tail. So I finally got the VE lined out. The idle was better. Startup wasn't great. Finally moved on to the mass airflow. Got the mass airflow all dialed in. And then all of a sudden, my startup and my just revving or coming down to a stop, all of a sudden everything's hanging. I can't get the throttle to close enough. I can't get the adaptives to work quick enough to keep the RPMs from hanging. So, you know, I start doing a little more digging. I look at my idle trims, and now my idle trims are the exact opposite. My idle trims are way negative. So, finally get the mass airflow all like 100% lined out, basically, and I'm like, okay, got to get everything back in line here with startup and with the idle and return to idle and just giving it a quick rev. So, finally kind of followed the idle trims and the desired airflow, and everything was wanting way negative now. So I go in, set all that stuff back, drop it back down 4 or 5 grams per second. Everything's pretty much back in line. Ultimately, in the end, my initial guesses of the idle RPM, the idle timing, and the idle airflow were ultimately pretty much correct. But what was way out in left field was my airflow model, my VE and my mass airflow. So that's why every time that somebody starts getting into this, every time that somebody starts, they start up a brand new build, new heads, new cam, new motor, turbo, whatever it is, that's why I always say do the idle last. Everything else has to be in place for the idle to fall in line. If you go through, yeah, you might start it up, it might kind of struggle, it might kind of chug a little bit, but if you can drive it, if you can safely drive it, and it's not dying on you at every stoplight, you might have to 2-foot it a little bit, but as long as you're not having to start it every time you come to a stop or every time you turn the steering wheel, that's okay. Get your airflow and everything, your VE and your mass airflow, get all that stuff lined out, get kind of your timing tables set about where they're going to want to be. Then go back to your idle airflow, go back to your startup airflow. All of this stuff works based on the airflow models. The VE and the mass airflow have to be correct for all of this stuff to work properly. I know I got a little long-winded there. It is just really that important to make sure that you have your VE and your mass airflow and everything dialed in. So I don't have any scanner data to show you. Nothing too crazy going on there, nothing too important. Just the idle trims being either positive or negative in one way or the other. So finally got it all lined out, and I'll shoot you a little idle video of it here after we get done. That's all I've got. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel for more helpful information. If you do have any questions, make sure you leave a comment. And if you have any suggestions for future videos, let me know. Thanks, guys. Catch you on the next one.